Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Zdenek's English podcast. And my guest today is Tommy, aka Tamas Bradford. Hi, Tommy.
Hello, world outside of the window. Hello, 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 hello. I really hate being on. I really don't know what to do on these podcasts. Simply because I have my own podcast,
Yeah.
but my own podcast is just. It feels like I'm not the guest. It feels like I'm a host. Here, I just feel really uncomfortable because
I can make you a co-host if you want, if that makes you feel better.
No, that makes me feel a little less anxious. But no, I'm happy. Thank you, Teacher Z. I'm here. I'm happy to be on. I was just hoping that I was going to hear your jingle, but you never played your jingle.
Yeah, because that happens in the post-production phase.
Oh, I'm let down. I'm really let down. But I will go and listen to this as soon as you post it. I'm going to go and listen to it just so I can listen to the world famous jingle.
Just for the jingle. Yeah, you're not going to listen to it for the actual podcast. You just want to hear the jingle.
Hi, I'm Lucas from Slovakia, and I like the Achievers Chamber because I have the opportunity to meet talkative people who are about the same level.
Okay, well, welcome to the podcast, Tommy. It's good to have you here. And just for people that are listening to the podcast, this is also getting published on the YouTube channel. Is that okay, Tommy? I don't think I told you that.
Oh shoot! Damn, that's new to me. But no, anything. I have no problem with being recorded. No problem with being listened to, watched, or anything. As long as people realize that when you are being watched and when you're being recorded, there is a completely different way of seeing someone. Yeah. So those who are going to be listening will not see the messy background, but those who are watching this are going to see the messy background and think this guy is a complete loser because he couldn't even put the bed together. Well, public service announcement: when you got 3 kids at home, you can't always do everything. So we've left things as they are because it's how we work in this household. So, those of you watching and think, "Oh, get this guy off here. Do not even ever talk to him again." I'm like, well, I would do something which would be very rude, but I'm not going to do it because it would be very rude. So anyway, I'm not going to hijack your podcast. Back to the host. Here we go.
Well, 2 things. First of all, if you hadn't said that your background was messy, I wouldn't have noticed anything. Oh, now I can see. Basically, your face is right. I see it right in front of it. So you're hiding it.
I'm trying my very best to hide it because if I move myself in any direction, then it becomes more evident what's behind me. So I'm trying to stay still as much as possible on my seat for now, so that no one can see what's behind me. Anyway,
second thing is that I am exactly the same, and I don't even have kids. So what does it make me then? That's why I have this green thing to like hide everything. Yeah, I am one of the messiest people you can imagine.
Is that the listeners I hear? They're asking you to pull the green thing down now. They're asking. I can hear them screaming at the screen saying, "Pull it down, pull it down." I feel like you owe the listeners at least one thing, in the fact that you should pull that green thing down.
Well,
just so you can show us what's behind the green thing.
They have seen it before. I've got some board games behind it. It's like another thing that is kind of it doesn't really reflect the state that my room is in, because I've made this nice corner, which is like it's that place that I use for podcasting or for recording these videos, so that nobody can see the reality here, because I think that would put people off.
Well, the thing is, teachers have 2 realities. We have the teacher side of us, and we have our private side. Normally, when I record my podcast, it's only for audio. But those people who get, there are some students of mine who get the pleasure of actually being able to see the video recording of the episode. they don't see the mess behind me. What they see is basically a beautiful background with the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, because I record on Zoom. So, you know, with Zoom, you can whack up a virtual background which blocks out everything, and no one sees the mess behind you. Because, like you said, teacher, it is true that you end up becoming like a magnet for people who don't really like you. You know, they'll be like, there's lots of hate going around at the moment, and if people see your backgrounds and people see the reality of your private life, they're like, oh, well, you know, I don't really want that person to be my teacher. So, you know, I try to avoid showing this background behind me, because it is really just only for private use.
Absolutely. I think people are not that harsh, actually. You know, I think people understand. People are people themselves, right? So they have their lives. They might be similar to us, actually. Tamas,
Well,
Tommy.
I'd hope, you know, I'd hope that people would have a bit of understanding, you know, because, you know, we all have our private lives, and we all have the work lives that we live in, you know. So the work lives is something completely different, where we block out everything that we don't want to be seen. And then our private lives, that's something that we only as people, you know, our family, our very closest friends will see. So, you know, for me, it's what you see behind me is not let's say it's not a symbol of who I am. I'm not a messy person. We're not a messy family. It's just, if you have three kids and 2 adults in a household, you never get around to managing to put everything back together again. So yeah,
see, this is interesting. Like, you feel like you have to justify yourself. For me, it's the other way around. I say it with a sense of pride almost, because I'm proud of being a little bit messy. Because the people who are like OCD and who just they drive me mad. Like people that, you know, clean too much and put everything away, and it goes too far. So I mean, I don't mind being a little bit messy, because it's who I am, right? That's myself. Me.
Let me just put it this way. You know, there's basic hygiene. You know, and then there's then there's going OTT, over the top, and people just, you know, there are people who try to do a bit, you know, you just keep it at least basic. You know, there's a bit of basic hygiene, a bit of basic tidiness, so that we don't break our necks walking around. But then there are other people who just take it to the next level and say, okay, so we're going to tidy everything up. So there's going to be nothing on your desk. There's going to be nothing on the floor. There's going to be nothing which looks out of place. And I know quite a few of those sort of people. No names named, no fingers pointed. Personally, I'm not one of those people who takes it to the next level. For me, if I know where things are, if I can find things, you know, literally put my hands on them, I know where they are, I can see them in front of me. That's for me the perfect level of tidiness. So that's it. You know, that's really something about that's the tidiness issue here.
Great. Okay, now that this is out of the way, that was quite a nice rambly intro, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I like Tommy, because he can do this. Yeah, I think I would say we have something in common. Let's say I sometimes do that as well. Tangents and things like that. That's quite common on this podcast. So obviously, I know you from Instagram, Tommy. You're also known as Tamas. So that's quite an unusual name. Would you mind explaining to us the origin of the name?
Happily. So you know, lots of people who know me on Instagram will know me by my nickname, Tommy. You know, so anyone who doesn't know me, there we go. There's that banner at the bottom. That's a beautiful banner. Look at that. Run, go.
Let it run,
let it run like a rabbit. Run, rabbit, run. So those of you who know me on Instagram by my nickname will think, okay, I've seen your Instagram handle, which is running through here on the screen for viewers. And you'll be thinking, oh, where did that number? He doesn't sound very English. So okay, just explain to me what it means to be English. What does it, you know, what does it mean to be English? What do I need to be? Do I need to have a very bog standard English name like what? John Smith. And I'm like, well, hang on a second, I can't be John Smith because that's not my name. So the name I've got here is running. Oh, that I really like that. That banner is really putting me off now. I love it though. I just love. I'm just gonna keep stroking it. Like I'm gonna keep stroking it. Oh, where is it? There it is. I can't. It keeps running
on the
away.
right side of my screen. Yeah, so you can go. You can start from there, and then whenever it gets to my side of the screen, I can carry on. Yeah.
It's beautiful. No, so my name Tamas comes from Hungary. I'm half Brit, half Hungarian. I grew up in the UK, went to school in the UK, went to university in the UK, and then about just over 9 years ago, I moved to Germany. And that's where I'm based out from now at the moment. So, teacher Zdenek here, he asked me earlier what time would be good for me. And I said anytime after 1:30. UK time. He thought, oh, wait, he still lives in the UK. And then here was me thinking, Zdenek lives in the UK. That's why he's asking me what time in the UK is good for me. And I said to him, yo, Z, what's wrong with you? I live in Germany. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember that. You forget, So
we're literally next door. We're neighbors, actually.
Yeah, exactly. You live literally next door to me, but not next door to me.
I do.
So yeah, I come from a background which is Hungarian, half Hungarian, half British background. And no, I'm not proud to be British. And no, I'm not proud to be Hungarian. I'm proud European.
Oh, thank God. Thank God we have someone like that on the podcast. Man, I'm with you. Welcome aboard. I'm exactly the same. I'm not proud to be Czech at all.
Okay.
I've never claimed to assume any other nationality, let alone British. I wouldn't dare. And I'm proud to be European. And we know what happened with Brexit, so I don't have to ask you about that because we already know.
Oh, please do.
You already know where you stand on that. Yeah.
We do. I don't think anyone has ever asked me where I stand on Brexit. But can I just quickly drop into Brexit there? Because
go on then. Go on.
When people bring up Brexit, me being me, I like to poke a bear in the middle of winter. I really like to get up people's noses. I really like to annoy people with my unpatriotic view of the UK. I voted, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and now I can hear the people starting to click unfollow here on Instagram. I voted against Brexit. And I am proud. I am proud to have voted against Brexit.
That's why I said we know where you stand on Brexit. I was right. It was all obvious to me.
Yeah. I voted against Brexit simply because I knew at the time what the consequences would be. I'm not someone who is wet behind the ears and decides, and doesn't know anything about anything. I know that there are big consequences about Brexit, and we're still seeing them today. So Brexit for me is like the bull in a china shop. I'm using lots of idioms here. Do I need to?
That's good.
Should I explain any of these, maybe, or do your listeners know what these mean?
Well, this is a podcast for high-level learners, so the least they can do is to guess the idioms from context, and you're doing a brilliant job of throwing them in. And I also think that English learners don't have to understand every single phrase.
Exactly.
And it's also good that obviously listeners are at different level of proficiency, so everyone can find something in your speech, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a myth that we have to learn as learners. We have to understand every word that is said between two, in a conversation. If that were true, then we wouldn't be learners anymore. We'd become proficient. We'd be proficient at that language, and we'd never end up learning languages, because all languages would be literally programmed into us. So, for me, if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, Tommy, I want to understand every word that you're saying to me," it's like, yeah, well, okay, you do that, but you don't necessarily need to do that, because what's what's important is if you don't understand something, you can always ask.
Yeah.
Or if you don't ask, you can always look up in the dictionary. Or if you don't look up in the dictionary, you can look up on the many hundreds of thousands of online dictionaries, not Google Translator, because that's not a dictionary. That's just an algorithm. And please, if anyone says to me they use Google Translator as their dictionary, I will happily throw them out of the window. And until they realize that they are doing themselves and their language learning in the wrong way. So there we go.
It seems like we share the same views on language learning.
we are what you would call superheroes.
Exactly.
To quote someone, to quote someone's reel from earlier this week.
Are you quoting my reel?
Yeah, exactly. Someone
for real. For real. Are you doing that for real?
I'm doing it for real. But we are, as you said quite rightly in your reel, we are superheroes because we teach languages. We are teachers. Teachers are superheroes, along with many other people who've got us through this terrible COVID crisis.
Exactly.
So police, fire brigade, nurses, doctors, kindergarten teachers, nursery teachers. Those are the real, true heroes of this COVID crisis, and not just COVID crisis, but of our society in general. So those of you who
society crisis,
those of you who are one of these types, who are part of these professions, big hand goes out to you because you are true superheroes.
Nice. Big up to you guys. Obviously, if your profession wasn't mentioned, that's purely accidental.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say it was purely accidental because I'm not just calling out a certain section of society. I'm also calling out people who actually do a job for us. Unlike, and let me just call out those of you who are investment bankers, hedge funders, and the upper 1% of our society. For me, and I can hear the unfollows going in left, right, and center. You are the cancer of our society.
Oh, you're the scum.
Yeah, my problem is that I get pulled into making comments, and then when people don't like it, they have a go at me for making the comments. And it's like, if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. There are other ways of you just ignore it, walk away.
There are so many teachers with different opinions. This is you. This is your unique self.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's not the worst thing, Tommy, because the social media algorithms tend to favor people like you, actually. Because if something sparks controversy or controversy, whichever pronunciation you prefer, then obviously you're gonna get more views and you're gonna get more publicity, and the algorithm is gonna show whatever you're posting to more people. So this is a good thing that you are a little bit controversial.
I mean, controversy is not controversy, or controversy is. That's the way that I pronounce the word. By the way, but there's the other way. There's the American way of
controversy. Yeah,
controversy or controversy. The controversy in my comments is that people are going to be listening and thinking, Zdenek, where did you get this guy from?
I don't think so. Listen, they know me, so I'm a specimen by myself. And then there have been a lot of different guests on my podcast, from all different walks of life and different teachers, native teachers, non-native teachers, younger teachers, older teachers. So I think my listeners are seasoned people, and I don't think. I mean, you are unique, absolutely. That's why I'm happy to have you here. But I think they will be fine. I think they will handle this.
Super. I believe that you also have something to do with football. I believe you're a football man. Am I? I shouldn't be asking you these questions.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what are you doing? Are you? Did you think you were on your podcast now?
Oh, damn! I've really got myself in. I've really put myself in the brown stuff now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, just to answer your question, I do like football. Yes, and so so you are. Let's just repeat this. So you are a Brit with a Hungarian name living in Germany.
yeah.
And the first thing I should mention is my condolences on passing of the Queen, because we are recording literally, is it 3 days, 4 days after the Queen?
2 days. 2 days. 2 days.
3 days
2
after the
days.
2 days after the Queen passed away.
Yeah.
So, how does that make you feel?
Well, I mean, for me, it doesn't make a big difference. For me, the Queen is the Queen. She's always been the Queen. She's the longest serving British Queen that we've had.
Yeah.
Do I have any sorrow from her passing? That this is another I'm going to go controversial here because I love controversy. I'm an anti-monarchist.
How dare you?
Okay. So people are going to say, explain more. So, I grew up in the UK, and for 20 odd years, I saw what the Queen did. I saw this pompous system that we have, headed by a woman who was the longest serving monarch. She died literally less than 48 hours ago or whatever it was. For me, when people ask why am I against the monarchy, it's not that I'm against the Queen herself. It's that I'm against the system the Queen symbolizes. Now,
it has no place in the 21st century, right? It's about privilege, basically. Is that something we should have in the 21st century in Western society?
No, privilege doesn't have privilege has no place. Ding dong. There's a bit of an irony there that I have privilege when it comes to being an English teacher.
Yes.
I'm native. That, however, does not mean that I don't use my privilege as an English teacher in a certain way. But let's just go back to the Queen and the monarchy here. The monarchy brings home millions of pounds in in tourism. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people flock to the shores of the UK, to London and to other parts of the UK, and they bring in money.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah. But that's because that's because of the monarchy, not because of the UK and its natural beauty. And there is a lot of natural beauty in the UK. To name just a few places: the Peak District, the Lake District in northern part of the UK. Then we have the area where I used to live, the Downs, which are also beautiful. They're hills, meadows, beautiful area. Then we got Dorset on the south coast. We got Cornwall. We got Devon on the down in the southwest. We've got the Cliffs of Dover, which is a symbol of Britishness. When people see the White Cliffs of Dover, they know, wow, I've made it to the UK.
That's right.
But there is lots more there is lots more to the UK than a monarchy which has been in power since since 1066. And for me, what's wrong with it is that if you belong to the modern society, you should actually pay your share in the modern society. Lots of documents have come out recently in the last few years that have shown that the Queen herself paid no tax on any of her private income, that the royal family hasn't paid any tax on their income. So every time you go to a to a national, to one of their castles, or to one of their buildings, which is under the sort of monarchy.
Yeah.
Windsor Castle being one of them, which is literally stone's throw away from where I used to live. Sandringham in Norfolk is another one, or Balmoral, where
the Queen died. Yeah,
where the Queen died, exactly, in Scotland. Every time visitors walk through those gates, the money goes not directly to the British state, it goes directly into the back pockets of the monarchy. Now, in any normal society, if I get income, I have to pay tax on that income.
Yeah.
But apparently, the monarchy, the monarchy doesn't believe that it's necessary for them to pay income on their earnings. So, if that's true, then technically speaking,
that's not.
You would not have to pay tax anymore. If
there's no equality, and if someone is a monarch or someone is in charge of a country, shouldn't they be the ones to set the example for people, right?
Well, that's it. That's exactly it. If they are the heads of state, they pay tax on their earnings because they are the heads of state. They are the figureheads. They are the first people that anyone sees. And if they don't pay tax, then that means that basic people like me, like you, we won't have to pay tax anymore on any of our earnings. Which would mean that we would get arrested on tax evasion. We'd probably get chucked in prison for it.
Yep.
So technically speaking, Her Majesty, despite being dead, should have paid taxes. She should have set an example for the rest of the UK that paying taxes is the right thing to do. And just to put a figure on it, if the monarchy paid their taxes correctly, we would eradicate hunger and poverty in the world, not just once over, not just twice over, but estimated 50 times over. 50 times over.
In the world? Or do you mean
in the whole world? In the whole world, we would. So that's a number which is amazing. Imagine all those poor people in Africa who saw the death of the Queen, never met her before, never seen her, will never see her ever again, will never see her. They would no longer have to live in poverty.
Well, I think you're putting things into perspective here. But I just want to tell you that didn't you guys have referendum on abolishing the monarchy? Didn't you guys, when I say you guys, I mean,
you mean the British?
The British people, didn't you have a referendum on that? We know what's happening with the referenda. They don't go really well, right?
Well, I mean, I think we did. I think you're right there. We did. And, the problem is that it's all a bit sort of like if you're seen as a social democrat, then you're seen as a person who's so-called snowflake. Inverted commas, not something that falls out of the sky, which is white, but someone who's a bit sort of it's this idea of the cancel culture and being woke. So if you call out someone for being a monarchist, then you're considered to be woke, considered to be non-patriotic, considered to be many things, and I've not, thank God, I've never been called unpatriotic in my life, but on Twitter within the last 48 hours, lots of people who have given their views about the monarchy, who have called the monarchy out for what it is, for a racist, old-fashioned system. They've been called unpatriotic, called not, you're not fit to live within the UK anymore. So for me, that feels a bit wrong. It feels wrong that we're.
But it doesn't surprise me, Tommy, because it does go hand in hand with that narrative that came out of Brexit, and it's that clash, right? It's the society clash, isn't it? Like,
yeah. I mean, Brexit basically. Brexit basically stoked the fires of this cancer culture, this wokeness, this idea of being patriotic, unpatriotic, this idea of are you British, are you not British? I was called after Brexit once upon a time by someone. I don't know who they are, and I doesn't matter who they are. I was called out for being unpatriotic against my country. And I said, why am I unpatriotic? So because you voted against Brexit. It's like, well, no, I'm not unpatriotic for voting against Brexit. I'm just calling Brexit out for what it is.
Yeah.
A thing which is not thought out, a thing which doesn't work.
And at the time when people voted for it, people had no idea. I know they don't like to hear it, but they had no idea what they were voting for. It wasn't defined. It wasn't defined at all. The question on the ballot paper was, do you want to leave the European Union or not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It
wasn't defined, as you said quite correctly, on the ballot sheet, it wasn't defined what Brexit meant. Yeah. It didn't. No one defined it clearly from the Brexit camp. Those who were in the Brexit camp never openly said, "Oh, Brexit means basically long queues at Dover, shelves going empty for weeks and months, and in a go, people being out of jobs for weeks and months in a go." No one said that, because
the romantic idea was that there would be fewer foreigners in the country. You would hear foreign languages less than you used to, and also that you would be better off economically. And I'm not sure that any of that has happened. A lot of foreigners left the UK, including myself. I was there in 2019. Okay, it wasn't the main reason I left. In 2020, it was COVID, but still, now at some point, I was thinking of going back.
Yeah,
I even applied for the visa, but it was so. At first, like on the government site, they told me it would take 3 weeks or something.
Yeah,
and then 3 months later, I had to make a decision because I was running out of money. I had to make a decision to stay in the Czech Republic because I couldn't wait forever. I didn't know whether anything was going to happen with that application. So, in a way, I am. they got what they wanted. I'm not there.
That's it. Just this summer, just to put a face on it. There would have been in certain parts of the UK lots of strawberry pickers, lots of fruit pickers all over. In certain parts of the UK. Those farmers who had hired previously non-British workers to come and seasonal workers to go and pick the fruit had to leave 3/4 of that fruit on trees or on bushes because they could not pick it themselves, and because no Brit would make their hands dirty picking a strawberry off a strawberry bush. Let's just put it, that's to put a face on it. We all say, oh, it's all well and good that we made Britain. It comes a bit from the Trumpian book of ideas that we have to make America great again, or in this case, we have to make Britain great again. Well, did we make Britain great again? I've not seen it.
Yeah, and now that's you. You were skeptical from the beginning. You were always like,
I was skeptical from the beginning.
But then the people that were on the opposite side of the argument, how long will it take till they admit it, or will they ever do that?
No one knows. That's fun. That's the funny thing. We now have a Prime Minister, Liz Truss, who originally was anti-Brexit, but she's flipped the table. She's turned herself completely. Now she's completely anti-Brexit.
Well, the question is now: can you really trust her?
The thing
her name is Truss, but can you trust her?
In this, I can't trust. No, I can't trust her at all. The thing, Zdenek, is that we have to remember those people who were originally on the anti-Brexit side, one of them actually, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, they saw the way that the people were going to vote. They saw the way that the tide was turning against the EU. And when they saw it coming, they made the rash decision of going to the other side to say, okay, well, we're going to hide the truth behind a veil of lies. We're going to hide the truth behind this idea that we are for Brexit.
I know this happened, right? But what, like, it had to be people like Boris, someone who is unscrupulous, someone who doesn't have any moral, like, compass. And just the value, his values, like, I don't know what's the word for it.
He doesn't have value. He doesn't have value. That's the thing.
Well, maybe he does, but they are the wrong ones. Like, he's like a con man or a crook, or
I mean, the thing is,
Trump was the same, right? So and it's his opportunity to get power, right? So he sees this as an opportunity, but he doesn't care about how it's done. Like, I heard that before he made the decision, before the referendum or something, he wrote 2 articles. One of them was like pro-Brexit, one of them was anti-Brexit. And then overnight he decided, like, I don't know how it was, but I heard that was what happened.
Well, the thing with Boris Johnson is that he has never been able to, no one has ever held him to account for anything he's done. As Mayor of London, he did things which could be considered corruption. In private life, he has done he's gone through, I don't know how many women he's gone through, but he's had certain amount of girlfriends, certain amount of wives.
Do we know how many kids he had then?
No, no one knows. No, that's the thing. We still don't know how many kids he's got.
He didn't admit it. He was asked by the press, but he wasn't able to answer.
Well,
I don't think he knows himself.
He himself doesn't know how many children he has, because there was a scandal, for example, about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. There was an American called Jennifer who apparently, according to her, I'm trying to be very anti-libel here, so that no one's going to come and sue me for what I'm saying here, but she apparently was given access by Boris Johnson to certain aspects of London life. This was when Boris Johnson was apparently Mayor of London. And with this came the privilege of, apparently, I'm using here apparently because this has never been, the credentials of this have never been really confirmed or not confirmed. She apparently then was given access to Boris's bed.
There you go.
There we go. A man who's
people knew about all these accusations, and there has been a lot of information about Boris before he became prime minister, and yet there were people from like low income families that decided to vote conservatives just because of Brexit.
Well,
right? Because he promised to deliver Brexit. He told everyone, we will get Brexit done. Let's get Brexit done. Right? The one
it was oven cooked. It was oven cooked and it was ready to serve. His words, oven cooked, ready to serve. We're 3 years down the line now, and we're still nowhere near close enough to knowing what this oven cooked Brexit looks like.
At least he had a good few parties, and like enjoyed himself right down the street.
He enjoyed himself at the expense of millions of people who couldn't enjoy themselves. He did things which were illegal, and he knew that they were illegal. But yet, when he was asked, "Have you done them?" or "Were you there?" or were you aware that they were illegal? He apparently, he numerously said, "I never knew that they were illegal." Yet his own party, the Conservative Party, brought in the rules to be implemented, yet he didn't find it necessary to implement them himself. And
so does he think why did he do all this? Does he think he's above law, or he will get away with it, or is that like, was he proving something to himself? Like, it makes no sense. But what makes even more if I can say it like that, more no sense, strange English there, but it's just the way the British public reacts to all this. Like, okay, they will say, all right, let's get rid of him, but at least he got Brexit done. You see, like, they credit him with that at least.
I mean, they say they say, okay, we got rid of him. We managed, his own party got rid of him because he was seen as a liability. He was seen as someone who had no more, had literally no more road to run on. There was only so much that he could really. There's only so much patience that his own party could have. Yes, they will be saying, lots of people will be saying, well done, you got Brexit done. The question I'd have for those would be, so how did you get Brexit done? Yeah. Was it at the expense of millions of people who are now going hungry, who have who are literally trying to make ends meet here? Yeah. They are not there are hundreds of thousands of families today in the UK who are struggling because of the cost of living. And part of the cost of living problem was because of Brexit. And, if we could rewind the clock back to the referendum, back to the decision that David Cameron made, we would hopefully, people would not make the same decision like they did back then. But knowing the British people, they would probably do Brexit. They would make Brexit again, because the problem is that the British people have this, how can I say, it goes back to the empire times. We have this sort of idea that we are better than the world. It's us against the world. It's us in the US against the world, and the rest of the world, well, they can go and do one. But to be brutally honest, this idea of the empire, let me just put it there, Zdenek, is it's archaic. It's very narrow-minded to think that your country or you are better than the world. Yeah. Yes, the UK or Britain had an empire which was 3/4 of the world, stretching from north to south, east to west. There was somewhere where there was a time when the sun never went down on the empire, because if it went down in one part of the empire, it was just coming up in the other part. But the problem is that this had an effect on Brexit, because we wanted to make Britain good again. Or not, not me personally. I didn't want to.
It's a romantic idea.
It's a romantic idea. Yeah. If we vote for Brexit, then we can rebuild the empire from what it used to, from.
There's different context, though. Like, the context is completely different, and this is going to lead to more problems, divides of the society, and like, the only consolation for you is that you're not the only one. We have more countries that are going insane. Like Trump, right, was that first. He was people.
Oh, can I?
Follow Trump, and then now we have this madman Vladimir Putin. Yeah. So
am I allowed to talk about Trump as well here?
You are allowed to talk about anything on this podcast.
Okay, sorry. Let me. I'm just going to talk about the emergence of the far right in the world. I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of poking the far. I'm a big fan of poking the far right, because I am a lefty. I grew up in a family which was full of social democrats / socialists. Now we don't have to look very far. We can look to our neighbours here in Czech Republic. Unfortunately, with what's his name? Your far right leader that you used to have. Babiš?
Well, he's not.
Okay, I'm not
he's problematic for different reasons. Yeah, so he's
Babish, that's his name, Babish.
He is accused of fraud,
Yeah.
and apparently he used to be like in communist secret service as well. Yeah, so he has got like a past, and he's denying it, even though there's evidence that he was there.
Okay.
So I don't think he's far right, though. At least not his opinions. Like, I definitely don't like Babish.
Yeah.
But I think we have someone else who is far right, and that's Okamura.
Okay.
He is quarter Japanese, but he is sort of representing that wing of politics in the Czech Republic, far right.
Yeah. So I mean,
Babiš claims to be like kind of in the center, but I don't like Babiš, definitely. It's strange that you mentioned him. They wouldn't expect that.
I'm sorry that I started poking holes in the Czech Republic.
Go for it.
Help yourself. The world has seen a shift from left to right, and it's not something that happened overnight. It's not something that happened, someone flicked a switch and everyone started voting right to center, far right politics. It has been coming. We had the Hungarians voted for Orban, who has turned from right, in 1990 when Hungary came out of the communist system, he was right to center. He was right to center. So people were thinking brand new future, bright new future, right to center politics. Beautiful. That's how we want it. We're fed up of communism. We're fed up of socialist ideas. We don't need it anymore.
No.
But, in the recent years, he's drifted. He drifted nice and slowly across the political spectrum. And he's now sat somewhere on the far right wing of politics. We don't have to look very far. We can look at the other side of the Atlantic with Donald Trump, who, thank God, was voted out by Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
We can look to Brazil with Jair Bolsonaro. We can look to many countries, and we can look at the characteristics of what they bring to the party. They all believe in making their countries proud again. They all believe in this idea that we don't need those people from outside. We're good enough to go by ourselves. And they also believe in the idea that if we do bring it, we only want to see the positive aspects of foreign aid. Hungary, for example, is happy to take on European Union money. Not happy to talk about the rule of law, though, for example. Yeah. So to be brutally honest, the far right in politics is a spectre which has been growing for longer and longer and longer, and it gets to the point where people just are fed up of politics as it is. They're fed up of the politics of old, and they want change. Yeah. So when Orban was re-elected, he promised change. He brought the change, but the change that he brought saw sort of like an abruption of the state. That part of the state supported him because they saw what he was doing. He was making Hungary great again. The other half of the state believed, well, hang on a second, what you're doing is actually against what we believe in,
Yeah, it goes against the liberal values, and like he's even against like LGBT, isn't he, and stuff like that.
Exactly.
He's going back, like he's going backward, like it's going in the backward direction, basically, isn't it?
Well,
like
that's what these dictators do.
Yeah, and it's the same in Russia as well.
They roll back the state for what they want it to look like, and then everyone has to abide by those rules.
I think it probably happened in Turkey with Erdogan as well.
Yeah,
we have got more examples of that. So when you mentioned Babiš, I think you probably said it. No, let me explain. So I think you probably said it because I think you probably knew the stance of the Czech Republic as a European Union country on refugees. Yeah, so that this is interesting because I don't think he's far right, but this one thing, it sort of goes throughout the Czech politics. Yeah, so we've got this thing that Czech politicians get votes for saying this in their campaigns that, oh, we don't want immigrants here. Like, well, it depends because we took under our wing a lot of Ukrainians, so it's about where the immigrants are from. Yeah, so I think it's because we don't have much experience with like immigrants from Muslim countries, let's say. Yeah, that's why I think there's a bit of like xenophobia. Yeah, it's just the way it is. And that's why we were like, the Czech politicians were against it and they got a lot of votes. And Babiš was one of them, absolutely. But he himself is not, I don't think he's far right. He's like centrist, but it's just.
It's difficult to put a label on certain politics. But it's true. You're right. Those countries who came out from under communist rule in 1990, they had a completely different idea of what Europe looked like to them. They were not used to the idea that people would come to their, people would come to their countries and would end up then want to be staying there, especially not people who are, let's say, not like you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use.
It's true.
I'm not going to use the vitriol that is used by certain politicians, but the thing was that when countries like, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Slovakia came into the EU, they had this idea of what the EU would look like. They were promised the riches. They were promised the same ideas as what everyone else had within the EU. When it turned out though that the EU was really, you're just a left behind central Eastern European country, it was like, well, why do we need to, that's when people sort of turned on it. They turned on the European project and said, well, hang on a second, you promised the riches. Where were they? They never came. Yeah, the money never came, or when it came, it was like, okay, we're only giving you a very small proportion of the whole money, of everything that's available to you. That's not an excuse though to then go and to slip from where you are on the political spectrum to an extremist position, because it doesn't make it is literally the point, Zdenek, here, that we become, if people are told lies, of course they're going to turn. But that is not an excuse to then become xenophobic towards towards.
No, it's just one example, but yeah, it's just like that. But I think it comes from xenophobic, like it comes from the fact that they are not our neighbors. We don't know them. People are just scared.
Yeah.
It's not like, I think it's not even the worst here, right? Because we are really close to Germany, and I think if you go further to the east, it gets worse, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So like it could be much worse here, but this is one thing like we are not good at right at the moment. You're right, yeah. Well, Tommy, a fantastic chat with you. I like how we jump to different things. It's cool. I think we're gonna leave it there because I don't want the podcast to be too long. But if you want, we can do part 2 at some point.
Yeah,
it's totally fine. But I should mention we have got your Instagram account, Tamas Bradford Teaching. If you guys want to add Tommy on Instagram, and those of you who are watching this on my YouTube channel, you can see it at the bottom. Then this is your website, right?
Oh wow!
LearnEnglishWithTommy.com. I'm prepared. I'm prepared. I'm prepared. So
can we get that going in the banner as well, along with the IG handle? Does that work? Does that work?
I'll have to change something here, but
it doesn't work. I just like
next time. Yeah, I can put it there. Yeah, I could put it as the banner at the bottom, or as a stationary banner. Okay, so it's been a real pleasure to have you on the podcast, Tommy.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for featuring and telling us about the UK and your perspective. It is different from a lot of people, but I would say actually it's quite common for
Yeah.
English teachers. And you are an English teacher yourself. I don't know if we said it. You called me teacher several times here, but I don't know if we have properly introduced you as an English teacher. So I would say you're not the exception. Like even when I worked in the UK for Speak Up London, I think there was just literally one English teacher who was pro Brexit,
Yeah.
and he worked only on Saturdays. So so like I don't think I think your views are not that extremist at all.
I mean, you know, people will see my views as being a bit off, you know, off the charts. But that's, you know, if you don't want to hear it, you don't have to listen to it.
Exactly. But if you have listened this long, I think it's too late now. You've already heard them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I'd love
thanks.
to-
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd love to do part 2 of this, which is something a little more light on the people's ears, you know, because politics can be a bit dark at times.
That's true, but you might be surprised. I think we covered a lot of interesting topics here, and we mentioned the Queen as well, your position on all that.
Yeah.
And I think it can be quite annoying for some people, but at the same time, it's very important. We need to talk about this.
Yeah.
We need to talk about this. So I think you did a good job of that. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And I guess all that remains to say is goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, Tommy.